there, welcome to Magnetic Mama, the podcast where we parent with nervous system wisdom, soul-led grit, and zero shame. I'm Steph, a holistic nurse, writer, and a mum who is keeping it real in the chaos. I'm giving you permission to raise resilient kids without losing yourself, because when you thrive, your kids can too. So let's get into the messy middle and find our magic. Hey there, and welcome to Magnetic Mama. I'm Steph. So good to be back here. It's winter here and it's cold and windy and rainy. I hope it's beautiful in your part of the world, but welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic that has been sitting a bit heavy on my heart, actually. And it's one of those topics that every parent, teacher, coach, and caregiver has probably encountered at some point. The dreaded phrase, mean girls. Let me say it again, mean girls. And just hearing those words can create an instant emotional response in any of us. Perhaps it takes you back to your own schoolyard years. Maybe you remember being excluded yourself, being talked about, being left out, being judged, or perhaps you're just currently watching your daughter navigate the complicated social world of friendships, group chats, school dynamics, and belonging. So recently I've been reflecting on some of the experiences with my own daughters and listening very carefully to the conversations happening amongst the young people. And one of my favorite things to do, I'm a very nosy mum, and I've also been revisiting some fascinating psychological research around relational aggression, friendship dynamics, and adolescent development. And what's emerging for me was a question that I wasn't really expecting, a question that challenged most of my own assumptions. And what if some girls are genuinely engaging in harmful behavior? But what if some girls are simply being labeled as mean because they're strong? And what if sometimes we as the adults are struggling to tell the difference? And perhaps most importantly, how do we raise girls who know how to use their influence ethically? Because one day these girls will become women. These will be women who lead businesses, lead communities, lead families, lead movements. And in my lifetime, I really hope that the women we are leading into their future, who are the future decision makers, think about how the world is affected around them. So I want to unpack all of this a little bit. The mean girl narrative, because we all know what that is, or we've heard it, because for decades, to be fair, we've all been quite fascinated with it. There was a movie called Mean Girls. There's books. There's TV shows. Think about Gossip Girl, Schoolyard Stories. There is almost a universal understanding of what a mean girl looks like. She's exclusive, controlling, manipulative, popular, socially powerful, often feared. And let's be clear, relational aggression is real. So, psychologist Nick Crick's pioneering research introduced the concept of relational aggression to describe behaviors such as social exclusion, gossip, spreading rumors, friendship manipulation, threatening belonging, social punishment. And unlike physical aggression, relational aggression works through relationships. The weapon isn't fists. The weapon is belonging. Gosh, we're good at finding the jugular, aren't we? And belonging is one of the most powerful human needs we have. Humans are tribal creatures. We evolved in groups, and for most part of human history, exclusion from the tribe carried serious survival consequences. Think about it. You got kicked out, you're on your own. You fight that saber-toothed tiger on your own. You know what I mean? So when a child experiences exclusion, it isn't simply a hurt feeling. Their nervous system can interpret it as a threat. Oh, the nervous system, you know? And that's important for us as adults to understand, because many of us grew up hearing things like, just ignore them. Don't let it bother you. Get over it. My mum used to tell me to go to the library if I was getting excluded, which I did. Yet research in social neuroscience suggests that social rejection activates many of the same neural pathways involved in physical pain. So to the adolescent brain, belonging matters enormously. So first and foremost, we should never, ever, ever dismiss relational aggression, because that's real, it hurts, it matters, and it deserves attention. However, when I started digging deeper, I found something that also surprised me. Some studies found that socially influential children are not always the most liked children, but they can be the most powerful. So think about that for a minute. Popularity, influence, friendship, leadership, these are actually not the same thing. Yet, as adults, we often treat them as though they are. And the schoolyard is one of the first places children begin experimenting with social power. Who gets included, what gets excluded, who sets the rules, who influences group behavior, who decides what's cool, who decides what's acceptable. These are power dynamics in the schoolyard. Adults do exactly the same thing. It's just that we're very clever and we can dress it up and we make it look different. Look at politics right now. Anyway, workplaces have cliques. Communities have cliques. Parent groups have cliques. Politics is essentially organized on social influence. The schoolyard isn't separate from life. It's the preparation for it. And this is where I started asking myself, are we sometimes looking at girls learning to navigate power and automatically calling it meanness? So let's talk about strong girls. You probably know one. Maybe you're even raising one. Maybe you were one. Sort of. The girl who questions authority, challenges rules, has strong opinions, doesn't blindly follow the crowd, knows what she likes, knows what she doesn't like, and refuses to conform simply to make others comfortable. These girls can be exhausting. Trust me. But let's be honest, they're not always easy to parent. And they're not easy to teach, and they're not always easy to coach, but they are super, super fascinating. Because many of the qualities we celebrate in adult women can look very different in childhood. A woman who leads a company is admired. A 10-year-old who challenges authority is often described as difficult. A woman who has strong boundaries is respected. A 12-year-old who says no may be labelled rude. A woman who speaks her mind is considered confident. A girl who speaks her mind may be called bossy. Same trait, different interpretation. And I think as a society, as parents, we need to be curious about that. Now, before anyone jumps down my throat and starts saying I'm defending bullies, I'm not. And I'm not defending mean girls, not at all. I am curiously questioning how we think about that. Because confidence without empathy can become cruelty. And we've all been on the end of that, and nobody wants that. Influence without accountability can become manipulation. Nobody wants to be manipulated. Leadership without compassion can be domination. And we need to sit on that one for a little while. This is where the distinction matters. The question shouldn't necessarily be, is she strong? A better question is, how is she using her strength? So is she using it to protect people? Because often kids sticking up for other kids can appear mean or bullying. Is she controlling other people, using manipulative language to control people? Or is she creating belonging? Or is she threatening belonging? Is she using her influence to elevate others? I feel like these questions are relevant to all of us, not just the categorized mean girls. Or is she using her influence to diminish others? And I really feel, as parents raising tween girls and teenage girls, we need to start having this conversation, because it shouldn't be whether the girls should be powerful, but more how they learn to use their power responsibly. And one of the things I've noticed is that adults want categories, want labels, want boxes, want certainty. We want to identify who's the bully, who's the victim, who's the problem, and what's the solution. I'm pretty sure that's a SWOT analysis or something along those lines. And we want these boxes and we want to put people in them. But human relationships are never going to be that simple, particularly if you're adding tween prepubescent brain development, behavior, and learning in the mix, right? So the girls are learning. Who are they? Where do they belong? How do they fit in? How do they influence others? How to navigate conflict? Still learning. How to establish boundaries? Still learning. How to manage rejection? Still learning. And how to handle jealousy and survive embarrassment? Still learning. How to recover from mistakes? Still learning. Do you know what I mean? It's messy. Like, life is messy, and our little young people are in the thick of it when they're prepubescent, moving into teenagers, becoming teenagers, and then moving into young adulthood. And to be fair, they know just because they once were in one labeled box doesn't mean that they have to stay there. And sometimes children can move between the roles, like the fluid graph, like here and here. Like, a child can be hurt one day and then hurtful the next. Hurt people hurt people. A child can be excluded in one friendship group and extremely influential in another. A child can be both vulnerable and powerful. And that's what makes this so complicated, even though we don't want it to be, because as if life isn't complicated enough already. So the question that keeps returning to me is this: what if we stopped asking, how do we stop mean girls? Or don't hang out with them because they're mean girls? Or, don't be a mean girl and start asking questions like, how do we raise girls who use their influence ethically? Oh, if anyone has the answer, please share it with me. Share it with the people, because we would all love to know, because no one wants a mean girl. And even the mean girls don't want the label mean girl unless they're getting something from it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't actually think anyone really wants to be the mean girl. And if they do, then that's a very small proportion of humans, in my experience. So influence is not the problem. Leadership is not the problem. The world desperately needs strong women. Leadership needs strong women. Let's sit with that for a little bit. Leadership needs visionary women. And the world needs visionary women. The world needs courageous women. Women who challenge unhealthy systems. Come on, people. Yes. Women who question authority. Women who stand up for others. Women who know who they are. The challenge is helping girls develop empathy, self-awareness, accountability, repair, compassion, integrity, alongside their strengths. You know, because strength without kindness can become very destructive. But kindness without strength can leave people extremely vulnerable. So we need this really symbiotic combination of both. So perhaps next time we hear the phrase mean girls, I challenge us all to have a little pause before we react and become curious. Have a little look deeper. Is this genuine relational aggression, i.e. bullying? Or is this social learning? Is it boundary setting? Is it identity formation? Is this a young person trying to work out how to navigate influence? Because not every strong girl is mean. And I believe that with all my heart. Not every strong girl is mean. And in fact, I think strong girls are often very misunderstood. And not every popular girl is a leader. So remembering to distinguish the difference and discern how the nuances between them, rather than lumping them all together in one category. But every girl is learning something about power. And the question is, who is teaching her how to use it ethically? As parents, as teachers, as caregivers, as communities, perhaps that's all of our roles. Not to crush their strength, not to fear their influence, but to help them develop wisdom to wield it well, you know? Use it ethically and for the benefit of the greatest good. So, if anyone is navigating the mean girl world, please reach out, comment. I'd love to hear your stories, your messages, your tips, tools, tactics, because I think the more we share and talk about it, the more we can encourage ethical leadership, strong women being celebrated rather than categorized, and, really leading with integrity as the adults, raising beautiful, strong young women. So thank you for joining me today. And until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and please keep raising beautiful, powerful humans. I'm Steph, Magnetic Mama. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Magnetic Mama. If this resonated, leave a comment. I love to read every single one. And for deeper support, don't forget to check out the community on Substack. You can find the link in the show notes. But if you're not ready for that, just hit follow. It's free and it keeps the conversation of parents in the messy middle going. So see you in the next one.